Welcome back to Bonanza Disc Golf, and good morning from Pagosa Springs.
So today it's like 9 o'clock. It's honestly so much harder to get up in the van. I gotta crank this heat, get my body up, just because of how cold you get. Can't crank the heat, you guys, right there. I tee off at 2:10, so I want to obviously make sure I'm warm way before that. I'm gonna eat some food early, edit a video, get it uploaded, which is the back nine of the practice round. I'll probably head to the course early. I don't think there's good enough service to upload though, which is the only problem. Let's make some coffee and some food and just kind of chill. The one thing that sucks is I don't think the springs are open. I really wish the springs were open, but I heard that there's been so much flooding in Colorado, and I heard that the free ones are all closed. Can you move, please? Just hanging out. Oh, it's a Yanni boy. Gotta find a way to put it in there. Love this kilo mug. That's pretty pro. So video is edited, exporting now, but that means that I didn't eat very much, so I need to make sure that I eat. I'm gonna drink this, go practice some putting a little bit. I mean, I still have 3 hours before my round, so I'll have to upload the video.
But this will probably be my last check-in for the round, so I can just focus up and get ready. And so I'll see you closer to hole number one.
Hole number one is a 365-foot par 3. Starting off, just moving from the left to the right down the fairway with a couple gaps that you need to hit. The wind actually shifted because we had a rain delay that was about 30 minutes because of some thunderstorms and lightning that came out. And so this was a tailwind on my practice rounds and in the morning, but it turned into a headwind right to left. So I'm going to throw my slightly more stable Destroyer, my Ricky 2-time, actually get a good rip into it, and it ends up skipping just beyond the basket, giving me an inside the circle look for the first putt of the day. Now, unfortunately, I'm standing over this putt, and this is something that I actually was commented about during my last tournament on hole 17, and that putt that I missed as well. But you can see I'm standing over this putt for a pretty long time because the guys on a tee pad of 17, who are an MA40, MP40, I don't know, but they are just like jabbering away right as I'm trying to putt. So I stand over this. I should have stepped off and came back on because first putt of the day, of course I have all those nerves in my body, but airballing a putt is really not like me, so that was pretty surprising. And then to doink the comebacker. And I honestly realized, and I'll say it in a second, that I just forgot to aim on those couple putts.
Literally didn't aim. What the heck, dude?
So that's not good to go take a birdogey on the first hole of the day, moving us into hole number 2, 370 feet. This one, instead of moving slightly left to right, it's moving right to left. So I'm going to take my Color Glow Strike and just try to throw it right up the middle. Unfortunately, what I'm about to hit right here is the only thing that got in my head because I didn't notice it at all during my practice rounds. It wasn't even a factor in my mind. And then I stepped up to this hole. I was like, there's kind of a low ceiling. Of course, I smacked the low ceiling. Wasn't a good shot anyways. I ended up throwing it a little inside. None of these tee pads are super level, so I guess we can blame it on that. But pitch up a zone real fast here. Just trying to start with the easy par.
Gotta stick to the aggressive game plan. I hate that I took a bogey. I thought I could go bogey free through too. But that's okay. Make this putt. Stay aggressive. Try to birdie every hole except for 7. In business.
We didn't really talk about game plan much for the day's round earlier in this video, but essentially this course is super gettable. I think like if I was to come out here and play doubles, it's a course that you could shoot 18 down at. Hole number 3 here, 320 feet. I aced this hole on my second shot in the practice round, so I'm going to throw the same disc at Firebird. Even though the wind is slightly different now, it's kind of opposite wind. There wasn't a lot of wind during the practice round. There's not a ton now, but I kind of ripped the Firebird. Ended up throwing it a little inside of what I want, but it's a pretty good line. And you can't really see it because the GoPro's on the ground, but I end up hitting the chains, chaining out for the ace. That would have been 2 shots in a row that I aced on this hole if that actually had stuck. Luckily, too, it's one of those chain outs that didn't roll away forever and just nicely settled for me underneath the basket. So, of course, I have to give the Firebird the honors to just tap it in itself since it did all the hard work to get under the basket, you know? Really happy to start out with that birdie, bringing us back to even par through 3 holes. Hole number 4, straight down the hill, 296. You definitely can't see it because the GoPro is just on my bag on the ground, and so we can't really see where we landed, but I ended up juicing it past the basket because the wind was a little opposite. We're going to go ahead and be trying our first step putt of the day, and I am actually trying to do a little more step and jump putts this tournament. Was a slight tailwind, and I didn't account for that as much, and I had a couple of those tailwind putts today that we'll see kind of how I was able to handle them throughout the rest of the day, but 50 feet, not dropping, so we're still even through 4. Hole number 5 is an 814-foot par 5. Really nice hole, I think, because it's pretty eagleable as long as you get far up and left on the drive. The wind on the tee pad, as you can see, is a left to right, so I throw my more stable Destroyer. Unfortunately, once it gets out into the fairway, it turns into a right to left, which was crazy how it was swirling today, which means that I thought I threw the perfect shot that it would keep it over to the left and then continue finishing forward, but I wind up in these branches. Luckily, there are like these small trees right in front of me where there is actually a lane out that I can throw with either my Pharaoh or my EchoStar Destroyer because it is now, like I said, that right to left wind pushing up this fairway. I'm going to decide to take my Pharaoh instead of my Destroyer because it's a little bit flippier and I don't really have a great swing, and I'm going to try to throw it on a slight Anheuser to fight against it.
Keep turning.
2 feet. 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 doesn't really keep turning like I wanted it to, but that's okay because my miss was left anyways, which is why I wanted to throw a little bit higher speed and not like a heat. And that leaves me here with an eagle look from about 80 feet, mostly left side, almost pin high after 2 pretty shanked shots. This is a pretty soft par 5, one that I definitely want to get today as I'm recording this voiceover because I'm actually sitting in my van at the parking lot of the tournament. Almost put it in, just about a foot short, and I've been leaving those long jumpers about a foot short. I don't know why. They come back from a foot short or a foot deeper, about the same distance, so I got to start trusting those a little bit more. Hole number 6 is a 572-foot par 4. We did take the birdie there, but it kind of feels like a par. Now this hole, I kind of figured out during practice, you want to throw around that big tree that's down the fairway, and so it was actually a slight headwind, so I threw my Ricky Destroyer on a slight hyzer, and it didn't quite flip up. I've not been getting like headwinds to flip that Destroyer. It's been kind of interesting, and maybe it's the elevation, not 100% sure, but instead of pushing past that tree, it got caught up right here. So I definitely need to tell myself to shank the shot right if I'm gonna miss, because even being more out in this fairway is much more open, because there's a very closed look here to the pin. Unfortunately, I hit my chest as I'm throwing through that, and I think it's one where I probably should have just trusted that I could throw that one standstill and be good enough with it and get me up the fairway a little bit more. So I throw my Ultra on a skip line, and I'm pushing that backside. Almost thought I hit some trees. I meant to push the backside, not that close though. Luckily, didn't hit any of those trees, and it leaves me just outside the circle. I actually stepped it out and then asked my card. They let me know that they thought I was outside the circle. I had stepped it out to where I thought I was about 35 feet, so another stepper. Put it right in the heart of the chains. Really happy with that to save par. It would have sucked to take another bogey on a course where I don't even feel like I should be taking bogeys anyways. I missed the drive on the next hole because we had a little backup and I forgot to turn on my GoPro, but this is one where I just want to play for par anyways. End up pitching up the zone because it's 430 feet with about 50 feet of elevation gain. Maybe it's a little bit less than that, but I think it's about 5 stories. So hole 7, we take another par and we stay at 1 under. Hole 8's 224, just straight ahead. Pretty simple shot. I thought I threw this pure perfect on the day. Watching back at it, I think I was kind of aiming directly at that tree with my hips, and there was a left to right wind, so I wanted to aim even a little bit more left of where I was, kind of just on the inside of that gap. So definitely gonna have to make sure that I'm aiming correctly, because I thought that I had just like misplayed the wind. I think I just threw a bad shot. But we have to pitch up a zone kind of on a weird line, because all around me are things that are like just about chest high, so I have to kind of keep that disc pretty high, pitching up and saving the par. Really happy to save par there on hole number 8, moving us into hole number 9, which is one of the tougher holes on the course, but one of my favorites. It's 351 feet. There's a backhand line and a forehand line. I was lacing the forehand line in practice, but it's a little bit more of a left to right wind, and I was meaning to put that Destroyer on a slight amount of hyzer, end up putting it flat and just pump it into a tree. Fortunately, a lot of my card mates actually got pretty lucky kicks off those trees. I didn't, so I'm having to figure out how to kind of get up and down from here, maybe about 150, 200 feet. I throw my Envy, and I say no out of my hand because I didn't like it. I was aiming inside of that tree that I just passed, ended up going just outside of it, so missed just enough that it was a decent shot, and I'm able to save the par. And as you can see, we're changing cameras here. This is my iPhone now because Danny, shout out, was playing MA1, finished up his round, and came over to help me film. Throwing hole number 10, double Mando hole with my Ultra. It's a headwind now, so I'm really confident with my Ultra. 261 feet. Almost skipped that one into, but it rolls to about 35 feet again, where I ask again if I'm outside the circle. I stepped it out again. I'm just about 35, maybe 40-ish feet, probably a little closer than that, but this is a range that I'm feeling a little bit comfortable with, because it seems like I just need that touch of the step to get me over the rim. Really happy to have made another one of those, and for it to be for birdie, starting my back 9 off pretty well. Honestly, I do think sometimes the GoPro gets in my head a little bit, because it's one more thing I have to think about during the round. So even in today's round, I'm wondering if I'm actually going to be filming the first like 6 or 7 holes before Danny gets there. But this, okay, we need to talk a little bit more about this hole. I'm just going to replay this hole and just keep what I had said, and we need to talk about why that just happened. So this is another really soft par 5. It's 764. This is one that I'm expecting to eagle, or my goal is to eagle. If you watch there, the wind was pushing very tailwind as I was practicing. We had to wait for the card in front of us, and it turned directly into a left to right wind, meaning that my Faro, which I thought it would stable out, ended up just pushing it into a roller angle. It hit a stump, which I think barely kept it in bounds. So of course, got to kiss the stump and thank it. And then we still have a look to try to get up and down for the eagle. There's a gap that I'm wanting to hit with my strike here, but I'm kind of still expecting these to flip even slightly. It is a left to right wind, so once it's on hyzer, and it's not going to flip anyways because of the elevation, it's definitely not going to flip over because the wind is just batting against it. But it still leaves me pin high again for an eagle look, but this was even uglier than the first one and a little bit farther too, so we'll just tap in an easy birdie. Kind of feels like a par because that hole is playing 1.16 strokes under par for the day, so not great. 405 foot hole 12, big pump, left to right wind, take my EchoStar Destroyer, and I just really wanted to get all of this, or at least close to all of it. Ended up throwing a phenomenal shot. Very happy. I was 15, 20 feet long, about, yeah, maybe 10, 15 feet long on a 405 foot, very slightly uphill hole. You can see the wind is very much pushing from the right to the left. I'm like kicking the ground. I saw AJ Carrington doing that during my last tournament, so I was like, that's probably a good way to check the wind. I was playing the right to left, but I aimed middle and still put it on a little bit of hyzer. I should have aimed low and put on a little bit of hyzer to go kind of to the middle. Luckily, the basket caught on that hyzer, high and right. Moving us into hole number 13, 269 feet. Taking that left gap with my Nate Sexton Firebird. The new 2023 Joke ones, they're a little bit more stable than my Champion ones. Really got a perfect shot and just pinned it. This is another one where my Firebird's barking some holes today. Definitely got to give it the honors again and just have it tap it in. Moving us into hole number 14. Should be a pretty easy birdie, 260 feet. And you saw I had my Pure in my hand there, which unfortunately I think was by far the right call. Except in my head, I'm like, man, it's tournament nerves. I'm throwing a little harder right now. So I take out my Envy and say, I'm just going to throw my Envy on the same line or flatter than I was going to throw my Pure on. And unfortunately, I throw it on the exact same amount of hyzer, if not a little bit more. And so it's a little bit inside, and I got lucky during my practice round. Didn't get lucky today. Leaves me with about a 65-foot putt from hitting those branches. Definitely made the wrong call because you can push this backside. It's pretty wide back there as long as it'll hyzer back. So I think I'm going to try to throw the Pure on hyzer today because I've been releasing a little more hyzer than flat instead of just throwing that Envy flat because that's a little bit harder. Once again, I'm getting a little frustrated at this point with missing these putts. Obviously, they're like 50 to 70 footers. I'm not necessarily expecting to make those, but I want one of them to drop, and I'm wanting to get better at making those putts consistently. So I'm a little frustrated throwing the honor here on a 360-foot hole because it is a headwind, slight left to right. And because of that, I wanted to disc up a little bit in stability from my strike to a 9-speed and throw it a little bit down-tempoed. But I've been having a lot of trouble turning that disc over, so I really wanted to make sure that I did, and that meant that I threw it a little bit low, so it didn't really crawl back to the basket like I wanted to if I left it a little higher, leaving me with this really awkward putt, which I would have loved to have stepped, but there was a leaning branch right in my way that if I missed the step Annie, which my miss would be right there, I would hit into that tree and leave me with a really far putt. Next hole, hole number 16, is 223 feet. I'm taking my Crystal Flex Zone, my Get Freaky, and throwing it on Annie, thinking that it would fight back, but because there was a right to left wind, it just got on top of the disc and did not let it come back, leaving me with another 65, maybe 50 to 60 foot, something in that range. Just chain out left side. I'm glad I got the height right on that one, so I'm finally committed to one. And I know that I'm drawing metal on these. Like, I need to be able to commit a little bit more because it's not like I'm really airballing a lot of these until I get towards like the 80 circle 3 foot distance. Hole number 17 is 357 feet. I'm really wanting to get one of these last ones because I'm only 5 down. I know that I want to get to like 6 or 7 to really feel like I have a chance. I haven't been looking at scores yet, but I know that, like, I'm not playing bad, but I'm not playing good. And I just juiced my Destroyer. I threw this thing about 400 feet, slightly downhill, maybe a little bit further. It leaves me with a 70-foot putt. One of these where I'm focusing on cocking my wrist as I take it down. Throw a nice jumper. Thought it was a little bit short. Ended up being fine because of how I cocked my wrist on the way down. But I was leaving those a little bit wide. And we'll actually maybe see another example of that. Definitely not, though. I definitely didn't spoil anything. But 462 feet, hole 18. This is kind of a hole that doesn't really have a great line. It's a little bit gimmicky. You got to get a little bit lucky. And the tee pad, I think, is the worst on the course because you have to throw such a hard shot and you're not really able to get all of it. As you saw, I slipped a little bit there. Left it a little bit inside, but that's all right. My disc actually travels all the way down the hill. Feel pretty lucky about that. And it leaves me with an 85-foot look for the birdie. And at this point, I know that I'm 5 down. I looked at scores. There are people, I was the first card out, so I can't really see what people are finalized at, but I know if I get 6, I have a good chance of potentially making the lead card. Just missed the putt, unfortunately, but it leaves me with like a 20 to 25-foot comebacker for the last putt of the day, and I really want to make sure that I am not going to mess up my 5 down. Got to make sure I take my time for this putt, let it settle in, pick an aim point, which is what's helping me make all these putts, is actually aiming, unlike the first hole. Pick an aim point and put it in the basket. Luckily, put that in for the par. Don't lose any strokes on that hole, and we'll get my final thoughts here. So this is kind of a weird round. Just finished out. I've had enough time to like think about it, and it's kind of one of my goals was to be proud of both my rounds. And this was the type of round where it's hard to be proud of it, and it's hard to not be proud of it. For one, after the first stupid hole, I didn't miss a putt outside of, or inside of like 40-ish feet. Missed everything outside of that, so that's something to continue dialing in. I mean, everything inside of like 40 feet I made after hole 1, and that's just like a terrible lapse. I definitely, like, I stood over that putt way too long while the guys behind me were chattering, and I was like waiting for them to stop, when I probably should have just tried to tune them out, step off of that, and then come back. So I wasn't throwing the disc well. I was putting all right. and like I had some good throws, but it seemed like I was just a little bit off, and a lot of that's because the wind had completely shifted. I'm sure I've talked about this in my commentary, but I'm sixth place, solo sixth. There's 2 people tied for fourth, and I'm 1 back of them, and I'm 3 back of third place. So I'm 7 back of the lead, which is tough. I do think that my first double-digit round of the year can definitely come here. I mean, it could have been there with how many Circle 2 looks I had. I just wasn't getting myself inside of the Circle 1 for eagle looks on 5 and 11, and then for birdies on a lot of other ones. So if I put myself inside the Circle, I might honestly wear 1 extra layer because it was a little bit chillier than I thought, or at least bring an extra layer. But I think I can probably shoot double digits out here, and that's what my goal is going to be for tomorrow. I think my more important goal than that is to podium at the tournament, because I don't mind being like top 5. That'd be sick. First car, top 4, that's sweet, but it'd be sick to get my first podium in MPO, especially at a B tier where Connor Rock and Joe Revere are like the big names who are here. There's some other 1,000 rated guys who like I shot better than them, but they probably had a very bad round. Kind of frustrating for ratings wise, and this is why ratings are weird. It's 971 rated right now. I think that'll probably average up when ratings get finalized, but not by a lot. But the early morning had significantly better weather, or decently better weather. But at the same time, I mean, you saw how many strokes I left out there. I should be 8 or 9 down. I'm not proud of this round, but I'm not 100% proud of it. But it's hard to not be proud when my second MPO tournament, I'm on chase card on a field of almost 30 people at a B tier. If you guys want to check out the practice rounds, see kind of my game plans for them, and also see me kind of shred, because I played really good in the practice rounds. Also got an ace. Check those out right down there. I'll just leave the whole playlist, so as it builds out, if you're watching this video later, it'll also have the second round in it if it's past tomorrow. Appreciate you guys so much. Subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully with a better round. Okay, love you guys. Bye.